Hello everyone, this is Daniel and welcome to the Vocaloid editor tutorial. Today I'm just going to do a remake of the parameters tutorial. I did one a little while ago, about a couple months ago, but I didn't have a full grasp of how to use them all. But now that I've spent more time with the software, I think I know what I'm doing more. So, let's start off. So, to place down a note, you want to go up here and select the pencil tool, and then you can lay it down. You left click and hold and drag, and then the default phonetic is ah. And if you want to change that, you double click on the note and you can type in anything else like sa or za, and you can press spacebar or enter to hit play.
Za.
And it'll create a sound, za. And I'm currently using VY1, but I'd like to go to Vocaloid. Also, here's a quick little note: if you want to change singers, just right click, go down to singers, and you'll see the list. I have a big list, so yeah. Okay, so let's move this note. If you want to move the note around, just hold and drag it somewhere else. Let's go down to C2. Alright, so that's working well. Alright, so let's start with the parameters now. First one being dynamics, or velocity, because I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so velocity is how the note is attacked. If the velocity is lower, it'll have a little bit of a pause in between the note to give it a bit more power. So, for example, let's go za, and then za ra. So normally it'll just sound like this.
Zala.
Here, let's move that. And if you want to elongate the note, just go like that. And yeah.
Zala.
Alright. So, let's bring this down to 15. And you'll notice at the, in the corner, of the parameters, it'll have a little number that keeps changing. That, like, indicates where you are, what level you're on. There are 127 levels for most of the parameters. Alright, so now when I play it,
Zala.
did you hear that? Nah, like,
Zala.
there was that pause and there was an elongated R da thing sound. Yeah. So that's the velocity. That's what that does. And if you bring it all the way up, it's like
Zala.
it's just very straightforward. Za-da. No pause in between. So that's velocity. So now let's go to dynamics. Dynamics is, well, it's how loud it is. In other editors like FL Studio and Studio One, the ones that I have, velocity would equal dynamics, but since this is the Vocaloid software, velocity means something else. So, oh well, it's not your average DOS system. Sorry, I was just drinking some pop. Alright, so dynamics, that's pretty straightforward. The higher it is, the louder it is, and the lower it is, the quieter it is. So let's take a listen.
Zala.
So that's very good if you want to do Schwarzondos, I believe that's what they're called, where it's like loud and then quiet and then it gradually gets louder again. So that's a pretty useful tool. Alright, so breathiness, that's also pretty straightforward. Okay, let's reset this though first. Also, yeah, another little tool. I'm just gonna keep adding little things as I go on. If you want to erase what you've done, you right click or go up to here. and click the eraser tool, and then you can erase whatever you've done. And this is the same for notes. If you click and drag and then delete it, or if you want to, sure. So first, if you want to go back, you click Control and Z, and then you can just select individual notes and delete them. So that's pretty helpful. Alright, so now let's go to Breathiness. Go back to Pencil Tool. And Breathiness is pretty straightforward. The higher it is, the more breathy the singer sounds. Alright.
Zala.
Here, let's make that just all the way up.
Zala.
Surprisingly, Vocaloid isn't nearly as affected as I thought he would be. So let's try going to another singer. Let's go with Fricasse. I hate using Fricasse, honestly. He's so hard to use, don't know why I got him.
Zala.
It sounds a little better with him. So, anyway, that's the breathiness parameter. Good for if you want to use, kind of give a note like a ghost vowel at the end of it. So, yeah. So the next parameter we're going to deal with is brightness. So brightness is, well, how bright the note is, and it can be very helpful to make the notes sound more falsetto-like. Falsetto meaning, like, really high. Like, let's see, so you have your chest voice, and you have your falsetto voice. You see, so if you want to create a note, have the singers, like, hit a note that's pretty high. Gakpoi is, let's bring that up to there. Also, if you want to move the note upwards, but don't want to have to, well, you can just go like this. Click the arrows up and down to move the note, but if you don't want to just do that a bunch to get to the note, you can hit shift and it'll move the note up by an entire octave. So that's very helpful. Octave, I think, is 13 steps, or is it 12 steps? I can't remember. I'm forgetting my music theory stuff. Anyway, so there's that. And so let's listen to it without the brightness.
Zala.
So, to make that a little more pleasant on the ears. Also, another little thing. I keep just adding little things here. If this tool right here, the line tool, is very helpful, because if you're trying to like a line, it's kind of hard to just do this, because yeah. So what you can do is click the line tool, go to go to the location, 64, and then drag it, and make sure, if you want to create like a flat line, make sure that the end mark is the same number as the beginning, and then that's very helpful. So let's go down here, and actually let's go like this, and so now when I play it,
Zala.
it sounds a little better. It sounds lighter and less harsh on the ears. Let's try again.
Zala.
So that's pretty helpful. Let's use a different singer for a second and go with Sachiko, because she's hard to use. So
Zala.
so without the brightness, it's gonna sound weird. Hold on, let's try this. 65, 64. All right.
Zala.
So the brightness helps a lot in making the note lighter, but the impact of the note stays the same.
Zala.
So that's pretty helpful. So on to the next parameter is clearness. Clearness is, well, it's how clear the Vocaloid sounds, and this can be helpful for if you have faster songs where there's like kind of a lot of words within a short, like within just a few measures. Uh, Bringing the clearness up just makes them sound easier to understand. So let's go like this and bring this all the way up to 127. Also, you can see here that this this note, that's the limit, I guess. That's the maximum. So from 0 to 127, that's the scale you have from here to here. So that's pretty nice. Alright, and let's try it out.
Zara.
So it can sound a little more robotic if you overuse it. So if I were to just drag it all the way like that,
Zara.
it doesn't sound very good. So you got to be kind of careful with that and make sure you don't overuse it, and just use it in the correct places. So, but as long as you know how to do it, it's totally fine. Alright, so next parameter is opening. Opening is pretty nice. Opening, it's like how open the vowel is. So imagine a singer going ah. So let's delete this note right here and elongate this. I'm gonna do it an octave lower because I'm not a woman. But if you bring this down, let's say just like even by half, you can kind of hear it. It's almost like her mouth is a little more closed. Like there's not nearly as much space inside her mouth to create that resonant sound. So, if you bring it all the way down, it just sounds. It can be good for well, I don't know. The only time I've really ever used opening is to get a more native sound with one of the Vocaloids. So I usually just keep it at full. I think it's pretty good with Gokpoid as well. So let's go back to Gokpoid. And then if you bring it all the way down, well, sounds pretty good. Alright, so on to the next parameter, the gender factor. Now this one I like to use a lot, especially with Gokpoid. That and a little bit of clearness can make him sound even more mature than he already sounds. And so the higher you bring this, the more masculine it sounds, but actually at a certain point it just kind of starts to sound weird. So I usually like to bring it up to, like, the limit is usually 86. That's the highest I'll bring up the thing. So you see how that sounds? It sounds a little bit better. And if you bring it down, let's go to 34. Oh, okay, there we go. It sounds more like a woman. So it becomes like more feminine the lower you go. So that's a nice little feature. That's how they did. That's how they made Gakko in the song. Oh gosh, what was it? Nishiki no Mai or whatever. Where it was Gakpo and Gakko. It was literally just Gakpo's voice, but the gender was brought down to make him sound like a woman. So that was actually pretty clever. I really liked that. They've actually even made a costume for Gakko. If I was a woman, I'd totally buy it because, dang, it looks cool. Alright, on to the next parameter. Portamento timing. Now, Portamento timing took a little while for me to understand. And a lot of YouTubers, well, who have made tutorials on the Vocaloid software have kind of struggled with this parameter. But it's actually quite helpful. And this is a good introduction to a little thing on the Vocaloid software that's just like exclusive to the Vocaloid software. It's this thing called pitch rendering, and you go up here and you see this little thing, and you click on it, and you see this red line that shows you the pitch. And see, Portamento timing, it affects where the pitch changes relative to the note behind it. So if I bring this up to, let's say, 94. Yeah, let's go with 94. And let's go ka and sa. Kasa. Excuse me. Kasa is the Japanese word for umbrella. So let's listen to it.
Kasa.
Oh, I still have the gender factor. Let me fix that quickly. Okay, back to 64 you go. Sorry, Gakbo.
Kasa.
So when I click on the pitch render again, you see how it's now like it changes at a later time. So if I were to bring this even more up, so let's go to 120 or 19, whatever, and then go to pitch render, you see it really like it exaggerates it and then holds out that pitch for a while.
Kasa.
And it's the exact opposite if you bring the Portamento timing down. So let's go back to normal. So when it's just normal, it just sounds like this.
Kasa.
It's fine. So when you bring this down, let's go to 14. There we go. And then you go to pitch render. You see how early the pitch changes now that I've brought it down?
Kasa.
So that's pretty helpful. I do enjoy that quite a bit. So it won't work if the change isn't between two notes. If you have it like here, let's go like this, and then you have it like here, it's just not gonna do anything. So you have to have it between two notes. That's where you have to edit it. So let's bring this all the way down and listen to it.
Kasa.
And you go to pitch render and see how early it changes. So that's pretty nice. I do enjoy that. It's good for well, it's good for pitch changing. Yeah, makes sense. Alright, let's go to cross synthesis. I do like cross synthesis quite a lot. So this is also another feature that's exclusive just to Vocaloid 4. No other Vocaloid editor has this. So you click on this little gear tool here, and it brings you to this. And then you go to edit, and you can see it's selected at Vocaloid native. Alright? So what you can do now is you see here, okay, so Vocaloid Whisper and Power. Here's something that I found interesting. You can't usually do this with other Vocaloids. You can't mix Miku with let's say with Gumi. That doesn't work because they're two different companies, Krypton and Internet Co. However, because Gokpoid and Gumi are created by the same company and they are the same version, it allows you to cross-synthesize the voices. And I actually added one of those to my thing. It's called Gokmeg, and it's kind of interesting. Like, it's almost like you don't need to have 3 tracks. You can just have 2, and then one of those tracks is Gokmeg, and it's 2 singers for 1 track, and it's kind of interesting. I do enjoy it. But let's do an example here, just with Gokpoid. Let's go native and whisper. Okay, so that's what it's gonna sound like. Okay, so native and whisper. So now you see here at the bottom his native voice, and at the top his whisper voice. So let's listen to it just normally.
Kasa.
And now let's bring it up to halfway. and then
Casa.
you see how it's kind of lighter because it's starting to go into his whisper voice. So it smoothly transitions the two voices. So now let's take it all the way to 127.
Casa.
And now, at the end of near the end of Saw, he's in his complete whisper voice instead of his native voice. It's the exact opposite now. It's very it's helpful, and it gives the singer a bit more variety instead of just sticking to one voice, because beforehand what you would have to do is you would have to add another track, and then if you wanted to get to a different voice, you would have to bring down the dynamics of one of the tracks and then bring up the dynamics of the other to kind of switch it out. But now this is a lot better, and it's a lot easier to do, and it's a really cool feature, and it's just exclusive to Vocaloid 4. No other Vocaloid software, no other editor of this kind has it. So that's very nice. So onto Growl. Now Growl, again, another feature that's exclusive to Vocaloid 4, just Vocaloid 4. It gives the singer a little more like of a kind of throat feel, like they're singing from their throat. Personally, it's not my favorite out of all of them, and if not used correctly, it just kind of sounds like they smoked a pack of cigarettes, or 20 packs, honestly. But let's go here and then use the line tool and bring this up, and then go like that. And when you listen to it,
Casa.
you see that I can't even replicate it. But yeah, it sounds pretty nice if used correctly. But if not, it is, yeah. I'm still kind of actually trying to figure out how to use this to my advantage, because I did use it for one of my covers of Crescent Moon, but I didn't really know how to utilize it to the best of its ability. So it's a learning curve, and it's a work in progress, and I'll get there eventually. Anyway, now on to pitch bend. So pitch bend it's pretty nice. It helps you change the pitch of the note without having to draw another note down. So let's go here and then bring this down, and then yeah. Okay, so now when you play it,
Casa.
Casa, and if you go to pitch render, you can see the note starts to glide downwards. So that's pretty nice. Now, pitch bend sensitivity, the last one, the last parameter. This is how drastic the pitch is, like how sensitive it is. So if I were to bring this up to 12 now, yeah, and I go back to pitch bend or pitch render, look at how much more drastic that is. So let's listen to it now.
Casa.
See, it's kind of nice. If you do it, if you bring it all the way up to the very top 24. So okay, this one's interesting. This parameter doesn't go to 127 levels. It just goes to 24, and for good reason. Because if it went up to 127 levels, it would reach sounds either only a dog or elephant. No, only a dog could hear, or only an elephant could hear. So yeah, so there's only 24 levels for the pitch bend sensitivity, because as you see here, it looks like a smooth transition, but if I were to do that with this, it's a lot more choppy, you see? So yeah. Alright, so now when I play it, first the pitch render,
Casa.
So that's that, and it's pretty cool. Now I want to move on to a different portion. I want to go back to Portamento timing. So let's first reset all this back to 2, and I'm gonna. Oh yeah, also I forgot to tell you, pitch bend is doesn't have 127 levels. It has 8,191 levels. Um, yeah, it's quite a lot, but that's actually kind of nice. So let me reset that back to 0. But it also can be a bit of a pain in the butt to get it back to the level you want, because it's like, oh, just a slight little thing, and you're like, oh, it's on 211. Jeez. Okay. So there's that. Now back to Portamento timing, as I was saying beforehand. There's a way to make the transition of notes smoother, not just with Portamento timing, but also a little thing called note expression property. So if you want to get to that, you have to go to this little bump here at the beginning of the note and double click on it, and it'll bring you to this. So right now it's just set on normal, so 50% decay, 50% accent, and pitch control, no pitch depth or length. So when you play it, it's going to sound like this.
Casa.
Just normal. But if you go to accent, it kind of changes. You see the pitch depth changes a little bit. The accent is brought up. The decay stays the same, but and then when you go to pitch render, and also look, you see how this one has become a lot more drastic now. So let's listen to this.
Casa.
So it doesn't hit the perfect pitch right away. It kind of gradually goes up to it, and it can give it a little more of a realistic feeling. Now let's go to strong accent. So that's a little more of an accent. So now it's 80%, and then 70% decay, 80% accent. So now we go to pitch render, and you see here it takes just a little bit longer. So
Casa.
that's pretty nice. And now let's go to legato. Legato is I don't really like it just on its own. That's why I use Portamento timing to kind of help me with it. So let's go with this, and you want to bring this note out longer, because it takes a little while. So now when we go to pitch bend, you see how it kind of does this thing? This part is a little weird, but it goes down and then it goes up. So let's go back to this. You see this here? This part here, that controls what happens right before it goes into the transition. So there's a portamento falling and a in the movement, and a portamento raising. So that's that part, and then that's that part. So let's listen to it.
Casa.
And then if you want to add a little, if you want to make it even longer, you bring the portamento timing up to 109, and then
Casa.
and you go to pitch bend, and then see it's more drastic. So that's pretty nice. And then you want to go to slow legato. That is like very very drastic, and that takes a lot of time. So you gotta learn how to use that, because if your note is too short, it's not gonna hit the right pitch, and then it's gonna sound flat or sharp, mostly flat though, and it's just not gonna sound good. So you gotta get good.
Casa.
So there's that. Alright, so that's really all I wanted to show you guys for this video. If you have any more questions about the software, please feel free to ask me in the comments section, and just let me know what you think. Alright, I will see all you guys in the next video, and hopefully in the next video, like, it'll either be a cover or another tutorial, because I still have more to add on. So, alright, bye.